Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP UI5. In the last episode of SAP UI5, we talked about manifest.json as well as we saw the router and routing concept in SAP UI5. How does the router help you to restore the state of the UI, including also marking every single navigation to a special tag name so that the browser can track the history of the navigation as well as allows you to use back and forward button. That's not all, it also controls the instantiation of view objects for you so that you don't have to confuse that when to create and what to create, or what is the right place to create which view object. It's all been taken care by the routing concept and the routing configuration. From today's class onwards, we will start with SAP OData service. Actually, OData service is not an SAP concept, it's a generic concept. But to understand that concept, we need to first sign up for a gateway system. And gateway system is nothing but is a server which provides you such an OData service to access the data from your ERP system. So SAP provides a free gateway server for us to practice OData services. And I will now show you how to sign up for that free system so that you can get an access to a free OData service provided by SAP. So let's get started. We will have to go to Google and search for SAP ES5 SAP. Yeah, ES5 SAP. ES5 is the server name, and you see the first link which comes up over here. Choose this link, and it's basically a beta version. And you see somebody has already posted details about this server. Now we need to sign up for the server. It's absolutely free, as I mentioned, so you can just go ahead and sign up. Remember, you should have a SAP cloud account with you, and you see here I have already set it up a cloud account which is also free of cost. And this is my user ID which SAP have provided me. So let me just take this user ID and keep it into a notepad for future reference. And I will also just come down and say register this particular server. Now this is the ES5 server, guys, but I want to register for ES4 server. The reason is ES4 server also supports additional functionality like filtering and searching. Yeah, so that is something which is supported by ES4. ES5 has that limitation. Though ES5 is advanced, still it has some limitations. So we'll go with ES4. So you can see here also a link. Follow the link to register old gateway ES4 system. I'll go for that. And now once I will finish this, I am going to get two emails from SAP regarding this, both servers, ES4 and ES5. So I'm registering for ES4 as well. Remember, the ID remains absolutely same. You all can repeat this activity for yourself to register it, the SAP server. Okay, so now you see it's done. And now I can also log in to the ES4 system by clicking on this link over here. So it will open HTML GUI for me to log in into the server. So I click on this, and now you will see in a minute it will open HTML GUI. You see SAP logon pad have come up into the browser. Now you observe that it's ES5, but I want to just log in and change my password for ES4. So what I'll do is I'll just go back and check what's the system for ES4. I think it will be same. You just have to change ES5 to ES4. So you see on the top, this is the URL. Just change ES5, replace it with ES4. That's it. Press enter. Now it's very important also for you to remember the client. The client for ES4 is 800 and client for ES5 is 002. Okay, so 800 is the test client where you can go log in and test things up. Yeah, now what I will do is, by far system has created for me a username and a password. I'm going to enter my username and password over here, and with that I'll be able to log in into the system. So ES4 I will try to log in now with this user ID of mine, and I hope I remember my password. Let me just try if I do remember. No, I don't remember, so I got to now reset my password. So how can I reset my password? So let me say change password. Okay, sorry, I just go back, and now here I have to see, is there any way to reset my password? So let me just go back and check how can I reset my password for ES4. So again, same option, I guess. The way we use for registering the system, we should be able to reset the password as well over here. There has to be an option to reset the password of the system. So let's check that out, and I will just see that. Now for security reasons, I cannot show you my inbox, and you can see on the top I have already received an email from SAP. You can see my Gmail box, it's showing me one email. Yeah, so I would have already received a mail from SAP that this is your password. So for security reason, I am pausing the screen. You would not see me going and checking that email and the password, and I have already received email from SAP regarding the server. So what I'm doing is I'm going into the server details, and I have got the password for both the servers, ES4 and ES5, and I'm just going to uh, reset my password for ES4. So let me just share my screen again. I copied the password from the email which I received from SAP. I'm pasting my password over here. Click on log on, and now it'll ask me to change my password. So I'll just put my current password which I got from SAP, and now I'll just put my password over here. I'll change, yes, done. I also save it in my browser, and very nice. You should now be able to get it into an SAP system right away from here. You see, it's now taking me to an SAP system. Now remember guys, you also need to set up SAP GUI for accessing the features, and download for SAP GUI is also available here. So you would see the details of downloading SAP GUI is available. Maybe I will also post the information in our training blog for downloading SAP GUI. Okay, so now you see I am into SAP demo system. You don't have to pay to anybody for an OData server anymore. It's absolutely free. You can get in into system and try out things. Of course, the system I think is right protected. You cannot create a new OData service, but yes, you can experience and make use of existing OData services in SAP system. So let me just try to transaction IWFND slash GW underscore client. That's a transaction code to get in and check the gateway services. And you see, I don't have authorization. So means this system can only be used to consume the auditor services, guys. This cannot be used to create a new auditor service from scratch. That's the limitation. For creation, I'll show you using some other server. That's where you need a server for practicing things. Otherwise you don't need a server. If your scenario is to just demo the OData service, consumption of OData using Fiori, then you don't need a server. You don't need to purchase or get a server. Okay, it's absolutely free. So let's go with this ES4 server. So I'll take the URL of this server and put it here in my notepad. And what I'll do is I will also just close everything else, and what I will do is I'll come back to this link where I had started with the first link where I had started with the demo system, and I will now check the details of the auditor service which is available free of cost for me to access. Okay, so how can you access free auditor service for the demo purpose? Okay, so now just click on this link, SAP NW demo system available, and there will be a link to find free OData service. So you see, you can also launch SAP Fiori Launchpad in the server. This is completely possible using this link. And then there is a sample OData service which they also provide. The name of OData service is GW sample underscore basic. This is the OData service. Take the URL and replace it with ES4 because ours is ES4, guys. So we should use ES4. So put it ES4, and that's your OData service. So now some of you may not know what is an OData service. We will come to it in a minute, but let me just show you accessing this OData service now. So I come here to session, press enter. It will prompt me for the username and password for my server. Of course, I need to remember my username and password. Otherwise, I have to reset it once again. And then you will be able to look at the OData service exposed and provided by this server free of cost. Okay, by the time it loads, let's go and discuss what is OData service and why we need OData service. So, as you all know that in late 1990s, the dot com bubble have emerged, and there were then need for accessing the data over the internet. So, more and more applications are now these days built for internet, built running on internet and accessed via mobile devices, tablets, desktops, and browsers, right? So that is what is happening. So there was a need for a technique through which data can be consumed and created, updated, deleted via network calls. Okay. So data can be created, deleted, and updated via network calls. This was needed. So there was a company called Oasis who created a new protocol, who created a new technique called OData. So Oasis was a company who first invented the new technique of accessing data, which was known as OData protocol. OData stands for Open Data Protocol. It is a REST based protocol. What is a REST based protocol? REST stands for representational state transfer. That's what called REST is, representational state transfer. Let's have a look at a typical SAP system. So now you have a presentation layer, you have an application layer in an SAP system, and you have a database layer. Now, as we also know, over a period of time, all of these three layers are evolving. In the database world, we have a new innovation called SAP HANA database, which is an in-memory database. In the application layer, we have evolution of SAP application layer. New versions of SAP NetWeaver are available. And in case of presentation, the new way of presentation is SAP Fiori. SAP GUI is slowly becoming obsolete, and new way of presentation is browser. Browser becomes your client, right? That is what is happening in the industry at this point of time. Now, if browser becomes the client, you need a mechanism by which you can talk to this application server from the browser. Basically, a Fiori application, UI5 application should be able to talk to it. In older world, we used to use web services, SOA services, service oriented architecture, to consume the data from the browser from the application server. Okay, via the browser we used to use SOA, service oriented architecture, and web services in WebDyn Pro and BSP to consume this data from application server. But that was not industry standard. What has happened in the industry is Microsoft has acquired the Oasis and OData, of course, OData protocol, and that has slowly become the industry standard, guys. So this has become the industry standard to consume the data over HTTP, over internet. HTTP is the protocol used for internet based application, hypertext transmission protocol. That's why whenever you open a website, you see HTTP before it, or you will also see HTTPS. HTTPS stands for secure. S means secure. Okay, so that is what is happening now. In order to reach to the standard of industry, SAP also decided to build all their applications on top of the OData protocol. This was what decided by SAP. Because if you see, SAP is slowly moving into the cloud, and they also want to adapt all the industry best practices. And that's why you also see the UI5 Fiori is relatively pretty different than WebDyn Pro, because UI5 Fiori is now based on open standards. UI5 is based on HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and stuff. Right. Similarly, on the data access side, also they want to reach, or they want to adopt this new OData protocol for accessing the data from the application server, from the presentation server. So for that reason, you need an improvement from the presentation side. You need some mechanism to consume this data from application, and more importantly, you need something in application server, your SAP application server, to be able to build the new OData services. How will you expose your existing data in Mara table, in KNA1 table, LFA1 table, VBAC table? How do you expose it? You need some feature to be developed on application side, application layer. You need something, by the help of that you can expose the OData service out of it, right? At the same time, you need something on the client side to consume this OData. There has to be something, some object which should be able to consume it. So here we have client side something called OData model, because model is the representation of data in your application, Fiori apps or UI5 apps, and OData expose will be done using something called gateway. So in SAP, we have a new functionality called SAP Gateway Server, which allows you to expose the OData service out of your application layer. So now with this picture, hope you will remember what exists where. OData model exists in presentation layer, your Fiori apps, and application, your SAP basis, your NetWeaver is what contains the gateway server which expose this OData service. And now through this, there is a bi-directional communication happening between the presentation and the application. Hope that is clear to everybody. OData is the protocol of consuming the data between both of them. Now, why OData? What is so important? Why OData? Why it has become so popular? The reason is very simple. It's an open standard. Okay, you don't have to pay any licensing fee to anybody for using this concept. It's an absolutely open source, open standard. Anybody can leverage the power of its technology, can implement this. It's easy to implement. It's stateless. Stateless means you make a call to the backend server, let's say an insert record. The call comes to the backend processes that call, sends you the response, and that's it. It doesn't store the state of the transaction inside the backend. It doesn't store the state of the transaction in your application layer. That's why it's called stateless. In WebDyn Pro, when you're connected to a WebDyn Pro application, the context, the variables, the logs, the database logs, everything is kept inside the application layer. They are persisted. The state is persisted. But in OData, the call comes, you process something, the moment call is over, the state is removed, the session is removed, destroyed completely. It doesn't persist the state. Okay, so that's why it is called stateless. Second thing is, you don't need to worry about complexity behind data manipulation, because for you as a UI developer, OData is the single point of contact. If you are an app developer, basically you need to also understand this complexity. But as a UI developer, as a consumer of OData, you don't need to worry about complexity of the data inside. You request something and you get something. Okay, it supports all the variety of operations, supports all the CRUD operations. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. All the CRUD operations are supported with the help of OData service. Now, OData as a protocol is also evolving. You see, the latest version of OData in the market is version 4. Okay, So OData is also coming up with lots of different innovations, and that's what is helping all the people who are using OData also evolving, or evolving over a period of time. So that's the power of using OData service. Yeah, it supports all the type of operations. Now, just to brief you about the different types of operations, if you want to support, there are different types of calls you need to make. So if you want to do insert, update, delete, then probably you have to make or know that call in terms of HTTP. What is that equivalent HTTP? So this is an operation, and what is an HTTP method you need to call? So if you were just doing a get, or you are just doing a read of data, read of a single record or multiple record, that's called get operation. If you're creating new records, that's called post. If you're deleting a record, data, that's called delete request. If you're updating the data, that's called put request. There is something called merge also. Merge means read and update. This is called merge. Okay, so these are all what we call different variety of operations which we typically do in the OData service, using OData service. Now it's easy to test get operation directly from the browser. So we can test the get operation by reading the data from the browser directly. But other type of operation, you cannot test it from the browser directly. You need a REST client. Okay, you need a mechanism, a software to test it, and we would not use any additional third-party software. We'll directly use our Fiori application to test all these things also in near future, to do basically these create, read, update, and delete. Great. So now let's move on and also understand what exactly, how does the OData service works. So what are all the different components of an OData service? So whenever you're working with an OData service, you will always and always see two important points. So an OData service includes, point one, what it includes is a service document, and second thing what it includes is service metadata document. What is a service document? Whenever you talk about an OData service, service document displays all the available operations, basically all the available entity sets to apply operation on data. Second, metadata document. Metadata document of a OData service talks about all the data about data. Example, so it talks about all the metadata, which means data about data, what you are taking. Let's say you are creating a service to expose the materials data. So what is the data about materials data? Example is, you need material number. What is the type of the material number? Is it a character, integer? What is the length, maximum length of a material? If it's a currency, what is the decimal notation for that currency? What is the currency code attached to that currency? All that is metadata, data about data. So example for that could be, for an entity set, it includes entity type. Yeah, so it talks about entity types, not entity sets. Service document talks about entity sets. Metadata document talks about entity types. Okay, and inside entity types, you will have all the metadata of the service. So what is an entity set? Entity set is a representation of a real world object. Example could be material, sales order item, purchasing document, purchase requisition, etc., etc. All that is what is your entity set. Now you say, Anubhav, very nice, fine, understood the definition, but what you will do with this? All the get, all the crude operations are applied on entity set. Always, never on anything else. Directly on entity sets you will be applying your crude operations. Hope this is clear to all of you. Some people will do mistakes when we get into OData service. They will start writing entity type to do operations. Never do use entity type to apply operations. You always use entity sets. Why? Entity type is just metadata. It's a description of the data, the data type of the data. It is not used for applying operations. What is entity set? Sorry, entity type now. So entity type is the definition of data. It includes all the properties of an entity. Example, for material entity, we have material number, material group, storage unit, yeah, storage unit, material classification. All these properties are your defined using entity type. So it's a blueprint of the data. Okay, it's a blueprint of the data. That's what exactly an entity type is. Fine. So you're clear with entity type and entity sets. Let's go to the system and check the service document, the metadata document, entity sets, and entity type in the system. So for that, I switch back to our server, and voila, you see it has ready. It is ready with my output, which with this demo server, what we have, we registered for SAP is already showing me a sample OData service. So let me just put the URL of the service over here. So you all also can access this OData service when you are practicing in the PPT I'm putting. Now, this is the OData service name, guys. You see at the end, this is the OData service name. This is the server which is offering the OData service. And this part, SAP OPU OData IWBEP, is actually path prefix. It's called path prefix of OData service. Okay. So if you look at, there are three components. The first is the server address. The second component is the path prefix. And third is actually your nothing but your actual OData service. So these are all the three components we have when it comes to the OData service. So let me just see if I can little bit format it for you so that you can remember it. You will not get confused. So this is your service name itself, service, and this is your path prefix. What you see here, I'll change it in a different color. So let me change the color to something else. And then this part, what you see is the server who is offering. So one server can offer you multiple OData service. Okay, you can have multiple OData service offered by one server. That's completely possible. So these are all the three sections you have typically inside an OData service. Let me again put this URL over here so that you can as well copy this. And let's move it little down. Yeah, fine, great. So that's your OData service, guys. Three different sections inside your OData service. So now I want to access my OData service document. So it's very simple. I just have to enter this URL, and that is my service document, what you see. Now if you access this in your computer, you're not going to get this output such a formatted way. Or you will see very crude and raw output. Let me show you in my Internet Explorer. You will see something a very raw output. You will not see this beautiful output the way I am seeing it in my computer. So what to do to make it beautify? there is something called a plugin which is available in every browser. You can install the plugin to access or to access the information in a beautiful way which is understandable. Now it's, you see, it's asking me my username password, so I will enter that and say remember, and you see it will launch now into my browser. In fact, it is kind of downloading it. You see, it has downloaded it. So if I just open into my Internet Explorer, you will see the output like a raw data, a crude data. I mean, you'll see like a string, or like this, you will see the output. So to make it look beautiful, you need to install the plugin into the system. Now, just to also show you here, this is the entity type I was talking about. Sorry, entity set I was talking about. All the operations will be applied with these entity set. And you see, for every entity, you have a different entity set, like product set, business partner, sales order, sales order line item, yeah, contact set. All these are entity sets. All the crude operations will be applied on these entity sets. So you will, whenever you're writing code in your Fury app, you're going to use these entity sets to read, update, delete, or create new data into the system. You will always talk to entity sets. Okay. So that's about your entity set in the system. Now, which plugin do you need to look at this beautiful output in the browser, in your Chrome browser? Just go to Google and search for XML Viewer plugin for Chrome. And now you just go back to the first one, Chrome Web Store, and from here you can actually add this plugin to your Chrome browser. Immediately after that, refresh, you will see a beautiful output. In the XML output will be beautified basically. Similarly, you need another one more plugin called JSON Viewer plugin. So use this JSON Viewer plugin and just use this one, JSON Viewer, the middle one, and add it to your Chrome browser also. Why it is required, I will show you in a minute. When I try to access the data in JSON format from OData service, it will format it for me in the JSON format. And I hope by now all of you are comfortable with JSON format of data. So we will see that. So now this is my entity sets, and now you see, when you expand entity set, it is also telling you the entity type. So this product set is your entity set, and product is your entity type. Now what I need to do to access all the entity types? Anybody? Sometime back I told you what I need to do to access my entity types. Where can I access all my entity types? You see, I told you about two documents. One service document I taught you already. Now, yes, you need metadata document to be accessed to look at all the entity types available, right? So let's note down multiple operations here. What are all the different multiple operations we can do it? So first thing what we will do is accessing the service document. So let me note down all the operations which I'm doing. So service document, and then this is the service document. Next is service metadata document. So you just put dollar metadata at the end of the service, and then you will access the metadata of the OData service. So come here, put dollar metadata, press enter, and now you will see it will load the metadata document of the service. This is very helpful to analyze what is the data type, what are all the properties inside. You see, now it's showing you for business partner you have these many properties available, like company name, partner ID, web address, email address. So you can also imagine one entity type is created using one database table. So if you have Mara table, you will see one entity type for that Mara material, and using that material set as an entity set which you will use to apply operations. Okay, that's how you can make use of it. Entity type and entity set. So this is the entity type, you have it. In this you will see the details of your entity. Business partner ID is the key property. You see, it's a key. It's a primary key of your database table which converts to the entity type key. Okay, that's your key. Similarly, if you look at product data, you see lot of properties for a product. Like we created our JSON for fruits, we had so many property about a fruit like name, color, type of the fruit, who is the supplier of the fruit. Similarly here, that's exactly your entity type is representing with lots of properties. Of course, there will be a key property which uniquely identifies every product in database table. Similarly, that gets replicated to a key of your entity type in the OData service. Fine. That's how you can uniquely identify something which is unique. Correct. So that's what exactly is happening here. Now, you see here there are different properties which we will be using for binding purpose, and that's why we need metadata access so that we can use these properties in the data binding later point of time. Great. So that's about our OData service, and now let's move on and try to see accessing the data. So how can I access now the data? So can anybody tell me to access or to perform operation, whether it's a read, update, create, whatsoever, which which thing you will use? Will you use entity set or will you use entity type to perform crude operations? To perform crude operation, what will you use? Yes, you're all right. You need to use entity set to perform the crude operations. Correct. So we will now do that. Where is entity set in this? Okay. So then I'll just go forward. So there's a question, where is entity set? In the metadata document, you can't see entity set. That's what I mentioned here in the document, that a metadata document talks about the entity types basically. Okay, talks about entity type. Data about data, it always talks about entity types. It doesn't talk about entity set. Okay, the service document talks about entity set. It's a collection of entity set. Clear? So you will not see entity set here. You will only see entity type, business partner, and product. Product is an entity type. And if you go to service document back, you will see here a product set, entity set, which is referring to entity type product. You see, it's referring to an entity type called product. Product set is your entity set. Now to apply any read operation, you always use the set, never use the type. Type is just the blueprint, it's a structure. Imagine in a BAP, when you create a structure and then you include that structure to a database table. The structure is just a blueprint, and whatever data you are entering in the database table, that's your actual data. You use your table to fire the query, not the structure. Correct? So that's your product set, entity set. I take now this entity set and I fire a query. So I just have to put slash product set, press enter. It will load all the data which is there in my system from my entity set, product set. You see, it has got me all the data for the product. So you see product ID, some sample data which is available in this server. It's available now here for me to look at. You see, it's giving me, imagine you're firing a query on Mara table from the browser. So that's what exactly it is. This is how you access data from your ERP system using OData service. So I put my entity set name product and it has given me all the data. So let me copy this and put it here in the PPT. So you all can try these operations later point of time when you are practicing OData. So practicing OData is important. So get all products. Now, can anybody guess, if I want the details of all the suppliers, what shall I do? I got the data for products. If I want to know what are all the suppliers available in my company, what shall I do? Supplier set. Do you see a supplier set entity set here? There is no supplier set entity set here in this. What do you think? What shall I use? There is no supplier set entity set here. Perfect answer, Seema. You can see here, guys, supplier and customers are treated like business partner in a company. So you have business partner set over here to access the details of supplier. So put this press enter, you will see the information about suppliers and customer together in a business partner. Now here if you see, you have a business partner role. 01 means it's a customer, 02 means it's a supplier. Okay, so that's what exactly this function identifies. So that's the data model we have in SAP. It's called EPM data model, enterprise procurement data model, a sample data model for you to test, train yourself on SAP, as well as to educate people to build the demos on top of this data model. That's what is gateway sample EPM data model is. So here we have business partners, suppliers, sales order to practice things. Nobody will fire you from your company if you work with this. If you work with your productive data tables, productive things, then it may be a problem for you in near future. But if you work with this service and even something bad happens, nobody will fire you. So this is a sample data service which is available in every gateway system, not just this demo system. You go and check, it will be also there in your system also 100%, because it's available with NetWeaver. Okay, so it is there with every system, even in your company system you will find it. So that's how we access data for an entity set. Now you have business partner set. If I just use this entity set, and then I can get the information about all the business partners available. Yeah, so that's another example. Get all products and all business partners. Yeah, now suppose I want to read data for a single business partner. So what is the primary key of business partner? Anybody? What's the primary key of business partner entity set? Let's look at the metadata. With this you will know. So if you come to metadata and look at the business partner entity type, what is the primary key of business partner entity set? Anybody? What is the primary key for business partner? Anybody? It's a business partner ID. Yeah, that's the primary key, which means if I fire a statement, if I fire a OData call mentioning the business partner ID, I am going to exactly get that single business partner information, right? That single business partner information I'm going to get. How many primary keys a table can have? Anybody? How many primary keys a table can have? Let's see. Let's test your basic knowledge, guys, all the bappers. Okay, I hear some answer multiple. Incorrect answer. That's a very basic question. A database table cannot have more than one primary key. Let me take you back to the basics. What is primary key? What is the definition of a primary key? If somebody asks you in interview, what will you say? Anyone? What is the
Unique.
definition of a primary key? Anybody?
It's unique.
That's it. This is what you will say in interview. Unique. One single word and definition over. That's the main reason we don't know. We know concepts. We know all concepts, but we are unable to define. Right, so I got some answer in the chat window here, which uniquely identifies record in a table. Very nice. Unique key to access the table details. Very nice. Identifies unique record. Very nice. So many nice answers, but is still not a satisfactory answer, which is up to the point. So primary key is nothing but it is a column or combination of column which uniquely identify a table record. That's the perfect definition of primary key. It's a column or combination of column. It could be a combination of column, which means primary key is always one in a table. That's why it's primary, because it's only one. You cannot have multiple primary keys. Some people confuse that if there are two columns marked as a key, that means multiple primary key. No, it's a combination of column. That's called composite primary key. It's a combination of columns, because with one column you can't identify a record. Let's imagine a bill book, a typical Lalaji's bill book. You must have seen our Indian businesses ever in your life. You go to a retail shop, Lalaji's retail shop, where typical business runs on daily basis. What Lalaji does, he does all his business into black. He doesn't pay taxes to the government properly, and most of the time he does business in black money. He don't take checks, he don't take paytm, he don't use credit cards. Basically no white business, it's all black business what Lalaji does. Now what Lalaji also does to safeguard himself from the income tax department, every day he will launch a new bill book. Okay, every day he will open a new bill book. So every day his bill number will start with 1234, because if somehow he is keeping all the bills at the shop, income tax raid the Lalaji shop, he income tax will find all the information of sales what Lalaji has made, what money Lalaji has made, right? That's why what Lalaji does, every day Lalaji starts a new bill book in the morning. Every day he come in the morning, he open a new bill book where bill number starts with 1234. Income tax now cannot know what exactly he is, how much business he is doing, how many bills he has derived. Even though they find, let's say bill number is 52, means Lalaji has made 51 sales by far, and on an average sale they will also calculate the tax for Lalaji. But to safeguard that, Lalaji every day starts with a new bill book. So bill number will always start on every new day with 123. Okay, which means next day when Lalaji open the shop again, bill number will start with 123. So if the date is 1/1/2015, or let's say 2018, so on 1st January Lalaji made three transactions, three sales, and then on 2nd of January Lalaji made another sale. So all that is actually recorded in a database table. Let's imagine every day the bill number is starting with 123 123. Now Lalaji has made a sales of, let's say, 500 Indian rupees, 800 Indian rupees in this bill. In this he made 950 Indian rupees. Then he has made 580 Indian rupees. Then 450 INR. And then again let's say 230 INR. Okay. Okay, those my friends, those who don't understand meaning of Lalaji, it's basically shopkeeper in English. Shopkeeper is a person which we call Lalaji in India. It's a generic name what we give to any person who is holding a shop selling some grocery. We call Lalaji. Okay, so then if you see here, can you identify every single record based on bill number? Can you identify a record, a particular record based on bill number? Anybody? You cannot. You see, bill number is duplicating, it is not unique. You cannot identify, right? You cannot identify. What will you do then? But you know the business of Lalaji. Every day, new day, Lalaji starts with bill number 1, which means a combination of date and bill number is unique. A combination of these two column is unique, correct? That becomes my primary key of this database table. When I'm designing a software for Lalaji, I will make sure that date and bill number combination is the right combination with which I can identify any record. Any record you can see only based on date also you can't, because you see date is repeating, but combination of bill number and date together is a unique combination with which you can identify any record in this database table. Is that clear? What is primary key in a system? In a database table, it's a column or combination of column which uniquely identify a record. And that's the main reason people come to me and say, अनुभव सब कुछ आता था, इंटरव्यू नहीं सेलेक्ट हुआ, सब कुछ बताया मैंने अनुभव, आपने जो सिखाया वो बताया, लेकिन सेलेक्ट नहीं हुआ अनुभव, क्यों नहीं हुआ? इंटरव्यू में सही आंसर नहीं दिया. You know everything, you know every single bit of it, but you are unable to convey, you are unable to deliver, you are unable to define the right definition. what is interviewer expecting. His ears are expecting that answer, you are unable to give that answer. The moment you give that answer, he becomes your fan, and he says ki, I want only this person. Forget about contractors. Even though I have to define an offer for this guy, I want him today in the company. He is the only person who can drive this team. That's what you need to do. That's what, then every company is waiting for you, every business is waiting for you, every software industry, every team is waiting for you. No matter how much is the recession, people always need good people. People always need good people. No matter how much is the recession, how bad is the situation in the market, people always need such good people who can drive, who can be profitable for the company. You need to give right definitions to crack interview. Do not expect interview to be smooth for you if you are giving some bad definitions. That's what is the main weak point. You need to work on defining the right definitions in a proper way so that you can deliver the right answers. Because in interview, nobody will ask you to write a code. It's all about conversation between two people. Okay, so that's about getting the data. So now primary key in this case is just a one column. That's my primary key. But if it would have been a case, then there could be more than one primary key, more than one column also participating in the primary key. Okay, so never say multiple primary keys. It's always one. It could be combination of column as well. Great. So let's now access the data for business partner, for single business partner. So I will switch back to the data for all business partner. And now you see here, every business partner has a unique ID. And that is here, business partner ID is this number. I take this number, I go on the top, put parenthesis, single quote the value, single quote end, parenthesis, press enter. It's going to access the single record now for that business partner. You see, exactly that business partner data was read by the system. Now maybe if I change the number, I'm not sure if it is there. Yes, it is there. And this means Backer Berlin. That's the business partner with this business partner number. Yeah, so you put the number inside the parenthesis single quote. It reads that single record. This is equivalent to select single from your ABAP programming knowledge. In ABAP we do na select star from table, where we read all columns without any criteria. Here we are saying select single star from table, where business partner ID is this. You're basically reading based on primary key. So everything what you're writing here in the browser is equivalent to a select statement. Behind the scenes, it will produce a select statement for database. Okay. But you should not worry about as a UI developer, because you are getting this functionality for free. You don't need to worry about underlaying select query. How complex it could be doesn't matter for you. It will be the headache of a mapper to design such queries. It's not your headache. But we don't want to just become a batsman, we don't want to just become a bowler, we want to become all rounder so that our IPL bidding price will increase. Correct? If you just become a batsman or just become a bowler, your price will not that be great until you are god of bowling or batting. Your price will increase in IPL auctions provided you are all rounder. That's when you are truly a real player. This is the time of all rounders. This is not the time of अरे मैं तो केवल अबैप कर सकता हूँ. Get lost. Nobody is interested. This is the time of all rounders, where you say yes, I can do ABAP. You give me ABAP, I'll do it. You give me Fury, I'll do it. I'll do Launchpad, I'll do extensibility, I'll do HANA, I'll do ABAP on HANA. I will give you this much, so I can also get so much from you, right? Remember the rule. So if you do more, you get more. Very simple. So that's the query to generate a get single data. So read single record based on key. Okay, based on key. So we are reading in this case business part. Same applies to the product also. So if you go to product, there will be a key field in the product data. So maybe I'll just do a product set directly because I know the entity set name. And now in this I will find multiple products, and every product has a product ID. So you see there is a product ID. I can use this product ID, go on the top, put parenthesis single quote over here, press enter, and it just reads that product for me. Select single from the database table is generated. How to pass in case multiple columns are there in a primary key? Of course you can put here comma, and pass your second value, whatever is there, comma, second, third value, comma, fourth value. If there are multiple columns participating in the primary key, you can pass them separated by comma. It's completely possible. Okay, great. So that's about your reading single product data. What about where clause? So this is equivalent to select single, right? Then this one is equivalent to select star. What about select a particular column? This is equivalent to select single star. What about if I want to read few columns out of multiple? What can you do? So this means select column number 1, column number 2, column number 3 from your DB table. That's the query. You are now saying I just want few columns. I don't want all the columns. What will you do? So for that, let me show you. If you want, let's say, not all the columns, you see a lot of properties it is giving, all the columns it is giving. I just want product ID, product name, category, and price. What I can do? So I can filter those columns quite easily. I can tell the system that I don't want all the columns. I want very, very few columns. And that's what OData service will do for me. It will only select those columns. So for that, what you do is come here, put question mark dollar select equals to your column names. So I want product. It's case sensitive, guys. Product ID, name of the product, price of the product, and currency code. Press enter. It's only going to select that much of data. I by mistake I put a space, guys, after the comma. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that's the mistake. And now you will see it reads only few properties. So it will not read all properties. It is now only reading the properties which you requested. This is the way you improve performance of an app. Would you recommend to do select star, or would you recommend to do select particular columns? What is better? Anybody? ABAPer. This is basic ABAP guideline. Would you do select star from a database table, or would you do select particular columns of a database table? Particular columns improve the performance because select star reads all the column data, though you may not use them, but select column names will only read particular column data. So that's a basic guideline in ABAP, to not read all the high volume of data, rather than read only the data which you truly need. Yeah, that's your concept for selecting particular columns in ABAP. Yeah. That same thing applies here. With this, now we are able to select particular columns, basically equivalent to select column 1, 2, 3, 4 from database table. Clear? So what we saw, select star, select single star, select columns from the database table. You can also use this combination with select single as well. So put your primary key inside. Let's say I want to read the data for HT1010 product, and I want to only read these four properties. So select particular column where product ID is something, press enter, and this would produce only those four columns for that single record. Now you got single record with those four columns. An optimum way of reading the data. It's an optimum way of reading the data. You only reading the data which you need, because if you read everything, it's going to increase load on network. As a result, performance will be impacted. Some people come to me, Anubhav, my app performance is pathetic. Why? Reason is you have not done a good programming. You have selected everything from database, and then you are looping on this data in application layer. First mistake, high volume of data over the network. Second mistake, since the volume is high, the looping will take time. And that's exactly your ABAP on HANA is. ABAP on HANA talks about code to data paradigm, where you do processing also in the database layer, and you only transfer the final result out of database layer to the to the application layer. That's what really ABAP on HANA is all about, where you use the computation power of HANA, do a processing into the database, only transfer the final result set. You will no more do processing in application layer. You do code to data paradigm in ABAP on HANA. And that's what exactly we doing here as well. We are not transferring all the data to the browser. We only transferring from application layer whatever data is needed. If you need one record, why are you transferring all the records? It will it will slow down the network performance for you, right? If you need few columns, why are you reading all columns? It will slow down your Fury performance because Fury takes more time to load more data, less time, optimum utilization of resources, including network time. Okay, great. I think there are more different operations which are pending. Dollar filter, we have dollar filter with different operations, dollar top, skip paging operations, which we will discuss maybe in the next class. So I will pause the class here. Time for your doubts. Let's take doubts. Please post your doubts once again. If I, in case if I miss them on the top in the chat window, please post your doubts once again if you have any doubt about OData service. Of course, there is a lot more action to come. It's not the end. We have a lot more to come. We'll also consume this service in our Fiori application. Okay, one question. Each entity type belongs to one set. Yes, that's true. Each entity type belongs to one set, but the reason uh, is different. The concept of entity type is reusability. Just like you create one structure and you do include structure in another structures, right? Same way we can create one entity type. We can include it in multiple entity sets also. It's possible. At the same time, it is also used for other purposes. We will discuss that in upcoming days. We will talk about something called function import. There also you would need the template, the entity type. Okay. When we create a project, how find entity set from entity type? Okay. So that's something when we create a project, at that point of time we will see it. Okay, so in SEGW I will show you creating a OData project. That time you will understand how do you create it. Now another thing here is, if you go back for an for your service document, let me go back to our service document. You can easily find the entity type for an entity set. So I go to my service document, and in here if you see, this is your entity set. Okay, and this is your entity type inside member title. This is your entity type inside the entity set. You can also make out with the naming convention. This is what typically you should also follow. An entity set should end with set. Entity type is just pure. Doesn't have a set sort inside. It is pure. Okay, so if you have material as an entity type, material set is going to be entity set. That's a naming convention you can follow in your team so that people will not point on your work. Okay, so that's a good practice. How to find an entity type from entity set? That's what you can do here. You can see this is what I'm doing. This is entity set and this is entity type. You can also do one thing. Put your entity set over here, put slash dollar metadata. Okay, this also you can do. Press enter. Okay, it's saying invalid. I don't know what's the reason why it's saying invalid. Question mark dollar metadata. So now you see it has got you. Okay, again the data only it has got. So that's the only way you can go with the service document and find the entity set for an entity type. Of course I will show you using a gateway system. When we will build all data service, that time it will be a clear differentiation for you. Here the only way for you is to look at the metadata for entity types, and you see here in XML it says entity type. This is an entity type. If you go to service document, then you will see entity sets over there as a collection. So you see collection, it's an entity set collection. So you see collection means entity set. Okay, how to find? Okay, that's done. There is a question from Dilip. As SEGW create data models, service implementation, service maintenance, etc. How? That's what we'll cover in upcoming days, Dilip. Don't worry. As an ABAPer, I will teach you how to create OData service, and that's also a goal of our course. We will not just become a bowler, we will also become a batsman. We will learn how to do things in ABAP to build this OData service, how this OData service was built. Right now I'm teaching you basics of OData. That's why I directly jump to an OData service, but I will show you how to build this. What you see here, how it is created. That's what will be our goal. We will see how to create OData service. Yes, we will cover that in gateway system. Next question, I want to know how to find entity set from entity type. Entity set from entity type you cannot. You cannot. You cannot find entity set from entity type because it can be referenced in multiple. Okay, it can be referenced in multiple, and if you want to do it, then you can do it in segw transaction, going to the service in segw, and there you can find it. Okay, that I will show you when we will build the OData service from the scratch. Okay, so let the time come, that time you will understand how to do that. It's very easy in segw transaction to find it. We'll see that in upcoming days. Great. Any further questions before we close? No questions? Great. See you tomorrow. We see some more important operations. Now, one question to all of you. Think about it before we leave. What will happen? Let's imagine you have 1 billion sales orders in your VBAC table. Okay. You have 1 billion sales orders, actually VBAP table. You have 1 billion sales orders there. Okay. Now, if I will write an OData to expose all these sales orders, what will happen when I call this service entity set to read orders in a Fiori app running in mobile? What will happen, guys? The OData service now will return you 1 billion sales orders. Is it possible that you will load all 1 billion sales order over the network in your mobile device? Will that be feasible and possible? Anybody? What will you do? Will your app ever load? Of course, it will never load. All 1 billion sales orders now you're sending, even your SAP GUI screen cannot do it, right? So what shall we do to solve this problem? That's what we will discuss in our next unit. Yes, perfect answer. Answer is paging concept. I will discuss that. In fact, we need to apply the paging also in Fiori app. That's what is the hot topic for us in the upcoming days. Also, we'll talk about dollar batch request to safeguard the performance. What is dollar batch? We'll also discuss about dollar batch request in SAP Fiori, how to use dollar batch request in Fiori. So these two topics, very important topic, very important for interview as well as certification. So stay tuned, lot more action to come. The real action starts from here, real OData stuff, which helps you to connect to your ECC system and expose your real business data, which by far was only displayed in SAP GUI. Now with the capability of your Fiori knowledge, you can expose in your company to the business user in the hand of the user of inside a mobile device or a tablet using Fiori app. Great. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Goodbye.